Chapter 11 Special Modern Devices for Person with Visual Disability by Dr. Sam Taraporwala. This chapter focuses primarily on providing the reader a bird's eye view of the immense empowering potential of technology for totally blind and low vision users, with a view to facilitating a broader and more holistic appreciation of the subject. Specific products and their features are not highlighted. Rather, the effort is to provide the reader a general understanding of the how and what of these technologies in the lives of the visually impaired. Wherever specific products may be mentioned, these are to be read as being merely illustrative rather than as an endorsement of the same. The reader is urged to make a more in-depth evaluation before investing in any specific product. The technologies explored in this chapter will be those utilizing at least some degree of electronics or digital interface. Braille, its creation and access. An entire range of technologies are available for those who wish to create Braille documents as also read them. We list here some key pointers to the creation or reading of Braille. Conversion softwares. Thanks to modern technology, a standard Word document can, with the help of Braille translation software, be instantly converted into soft copy Braille. This soft copy can be fed into a Braille embosser, be it a simple personal machine or a heavy-duty embosser capable of generating many thousands of pages an hour. The advantages of these Braille translation softwares are that they allow for setting the page parameters, number of lines per page, characters per line, margin size, etc. These softwares are available both free as also on payment basis. In a country like India with linguistic diversity, most of the major languages have Braille conversion software. The challenge, however, is to get a source document which is in Unicode compliant font if the Indian language conversion is to be successful. In the alternative, one would have to manually use the 6-key input method to actually feed in the Braille cell configuration corresponding to the text which is being fed in. Page 216. Electronic Braille embosser. These come in multiple variants. They can be part of an electronic Braille typing embossing unit or a larger embossing machine. Many of the personalized Braille typewriters come along with a speech capability. In effect, one can actually word process a document on such a system. It can be carried by the user. Some of these devices have the capability of being also used by an untrained sighted person in Braille, as it is possible to connect a standard keyboard and generate the Braille output. The reverse process, namely a standard print out being generated by the blind person typing in Braille, is also possible. This can prove very useful in situations where quick text-to-Braille or reverse translation is required. A few Braille embossers also come with the capability of producing a standard print on the Braille page. Here, a picture of electronic Braille embossers has been shown. Source www.braillo.com. Refreshable Braille displays. It is possible to use a dynamic Braille display and have the user read the content by scrolling up and down a document. Such displays can be paired with computers as also tablets and smartphones. Such a system provides direct Braille access to the vast reservoir of e-databases. It also has the added advantage of being a major space saver, as on account of it being a refreshable system, voluminous content does not need to be physically stored. The downside of refreshable braille displays is the fact that currently they are very expensive. However, research is currently underway to develop a low-cost refreshable braille display with the targeted price of USD 300 for a 20-cell unit. Page 217. The device is expected to be released early 2016. Here, a picture of refreshable braille display has been shown. http source hims-inc.com/products/braille sense U2. Braille note takers. A braille note taker is much like a laptop. Unlike a laptop, such a unit will not have a visual display, but rather a refreshable braille display. Content is worked on with the help of a standard braille keys. Some note takers provide the QWERTY interface instead. The added benefit that these note takers offer is that they have an embedded speech synthesizer, thus allowing the user to both feel and listen to content as it is being brought up. It is possible to pair these note takers with monitors and standard keyboards, thus allowing for a great deal of versatile usage. Data transfer through memory devices is also possible. In the Indian context, one can utilize these note takers for braille typing and reading using the refreshable braille display. However, currently none of these displays support an Indian language text-to-speech engine or braille conversion. Here, a picture of braille note taker has been shown. Source www.sightandsound.co.uk. Page 218. Screen readers. Screen readers are softwares which enable standard computer or mobile phone to have a speech capability. The person using a screen reader would be able to receive a speech feedback on whatever text appears on the screen. This enables the individual to actively engage with the content of the file in question. Thus, a screen reader would provide full functionality by allowing for content to be typed, edited and read out, all with constant speech output. Screen reader softwares allows for the effective navigation of text. This permits the user to read all the content if so required or focus on a specific part of the text, for instance, character, word, sentence, paragraph, and so on. Over and above a standard default screen reader which is available with various operating systems, a user can also opt to install a supplementary reader. Some of these come for a price, while others can be installed for no fee. Both the iOS and the Android platforms have their built-in overall very efficient screen readers. The Windows narrator on the Windows platform is useful. However, it has certain limitations. The Linux platform's default screen reader is Orca. ORCA. The audio clarity of the content of the screen reader depends on its text-to-speech TTS engine. Most paid TTSs have extremely clear and some very human-like sounding voices. The open source TTS, however, may sound extremely robotic and incomprehensible to a first-time user. Repeated usage and practice results in higher levels of comprehensibility. Most TTS on screen readers allow for setting of speed, pitch, and other parameters. Although currently we have very many good English TTSs, the Indian language variants are not too distinct except for Hindi. Optical Character Recognition, OCR. For a blind person, one of the biggest challenges is access to standard print content. This hurdle can be overcome in various ways, chief among them being reading machines, accessible computer-based scanning and reading options. Page 219. Reading machines. A reading machine is a stand-by-itself unit which has the capability to capture the image of a page, process it, save it, as also read it aloud to the user. Such a unit typically deploys a scanning system, can be a flat bed scanner or a camera-based system. This image is then processed by the Optical Character Recognition System, OCR, and then with the help of a text-to-speech engine rendered in voice to the user. Modern reading machines are generally tabletop mounted with an ergonomic design and button layout. These machines can be worked almost out of the box and, given their generally well laid out keys, are easy to learn for the beginner, be they a child, a senior citizen, or anybody for that matter who is not tech savvy. The inbuilt memory capacity on these machines allows the user to save large quantities of data, literally thousands of books. What is more, the file management capability also. The other features allow the user to generate audio files which can be played back on an audio player. The USB slots also allow for data transfer, and thus scanned content can be loaded onto a computer for editing purposes. Most reading machines have the capability to be connected to a monitor where the user can manipulate font size, color contrast, and other visual display parameters as per need. Although reading machines are a very convenient option, their pricing tends to be prohibitive, generally more than the cost of a PC or laptop, scanner and OCR software combined. Accessible computer-based scanning and reading options. The second alternative for those who are comfortable using a PC or laptop is to load an OCR software and utilize the aid of an external scanner, be it flatbed or camera-based. The user can choose from a wide range of general OCR softwares available in the market, and by using a screen reader, gain access to the wide range of capability these OCRs are able to deliver. In the alternative, dedicated scanning or reading solutions by way of software are also available. With the help of these, the users can scan, edit, and utilize the document in a manner which best suits them. Here, a picture of ZoomX has been shown. Source: www.nelowvision.com. Page 220. This could mean that they either read the material with full navigation features on the computer itself or transferred the same to a portable device, be it a portable book reader or phone. Data can be transferred either as a document or an audio file, as these softwares also allow for audio conversion. The user can, with the help of file management systems, create and maintain a well-managed library of reading material. Modern smartphones also allow for image capture and subsequent OCR conversion of printed material, which is analyzed subsequent to the phone's camera capturing the image. The current feedback on these softwares is mixed. Low vision aids. Low vision persons can utilize a wide variety of assistive technologies, both software and hardware. Such technologies help convert text, images and objects into magnified images of appropriate size and color contrast so as to come as close as possible to user requirements. We can best understand low vision aids through the following. Computer-based magnifiers. These are softwares that can be used to manipulate which is on the screen in terms of its magnification, as also background and foreground colors, brightness, etc. Most computer operating systems have their built-in magnification software by way of assistive features contained within the package. Users can also opt for paid versions. These softwares are far more feature-rich and give the user multiple customizable options to choose from. Video magnifiers. Video magnifiers come in various sizes and capacities. Some of these are table-mounted and require to be connected to a display, either directly or through a computer. The user can see what is being focused on through the display, which could be a computer monitor or even a large television screen. The system can be configured to build into it different levels of magnification, as also other customizable settings such as background and foreground colors, brightness, etc. One can actually even work on 3D objects by placing them under the camera. Video magnifiers are also available as portable handheld units. These generally run on rechargeable batteries. Display screens are of various sizes, generally from 3 inches and above. The quality of these units depend on a number of variables, including the number of megapixels on the camera, screen quality, etc. They allow the user to zoom, freeze, increase font, play with contrast, etc. Page 221. Some of these units can also be connected to large displays for higher quality images. A few even allow for an image to be transferred to a PC for an OCR to convert the image into machine-readable text. Some high-end video magnifiers can be connected to a laptop or desktop and allow the user to focus its camera on a distant object within the room, say a person, an image, a blackboard, etc. The user can thus keep track of live content as it is being created on a blackboard and read it in a font size and contrast most suited to one's needs. Mobility devices. The standard white cane can be significantly supplemented with the help of add-ons as also other navigation aids. Ultrasound obstacle location. These are devices which can be independently held in the hand, worn on a wrist, mounted on the head, or fixed onto a cane. They are designed to send out ultrasound audio signals whose echo is converted into a vibratory signal which input is provided to the user. The frequency and intensity of these vibrations can warn the user of environmental obstacles which can be avoided. They prove very useful as they can inform the person of potential hazards which are higher than knee-high and which the standard cane may not detect in time. The smart cane currently available in the country comes closest to this kind of technology. Here a picture of Ultra Cane has been shown. Source: ultracane.com. Page 222. Talking compass. These are available as dedicated handheld devices or within other portable devices. They are also available as apps on many phone operating systems. With the help of such a compass, the user can pinpoint cardinal positions as also angular deviations from these points. In case the user is clear about changing to specific directions en route, a talking compass can prove very useful. Here a talking compass picture has been shown. Source is www.beyondsight.com. GPS-based maps. These maps, which are generally mainstream products and are available on phones and tablets, can be made accessible with the assistance of a screen reading software. The blind user can thus navigate a route, find places of interest, understand their vicinity, etc., like their sighted counterparts. Though many of these maps have accessibility features, some of them are not fully accessible. Maths and science. Mathematics and science learning has often been considered to be challenging for students with blindness and low vision. Several traditional aids and appliances have been used to ensure easy access and learning. However, just as in the areas of reading and writing, advent of technology has ensured increased independence and access in the case of mathematics and science learning as well. While technological advances have made a significant contribution in creating access in the field of mathematics and science, they have also posed some challenges as compared to their assistive technology counterparts in the areas of reading and writing languages. Below are key ideas on the role that assistive technology, AT, has played in this field and what remains to be desired. Learning and practice of mathematics and science can be viewed from the perspective of 5 key areas: concept building and rough work, writing mathematics and science content independently, reading mathematics and science content independently. Page 223. Accessing graphs, diagrams and pictures, and accessing science practicals. Assistive technologies have made significant contribution to further each of the above 5 areas of learning. In the area of concept building and rough work, technology alternatives to paper pen writing are available in terms of specialized softwares aimed at algebra and arithmetic writing and practice. These provide audio-based learning experiences along with work in print version, which the sighted teacher can correct. In addition, talking calculators, including talking scientific calculators and audio labeling systems with tactile graph paper, can also be used for calculations and rough work. Computer Word and Excel programs with screen readers permit basic mathematical work. The challenge with higher level mathematics comes in the way of screen readers not being able to lend complete meaningful readback of mathematical content. For this purpose, specialized formats and software can be used. For writing and reading mathematics and scientific content independently, there are 3 major formats available: audio, braille, or digital. Technology today makes it possible to have human audio recorded books to be played back on several MP3 or DAISY players. Braille, in its refreshable version, can permit writing as well as printing content both in print and braille versions. Softwares that convert refreshable mathematical content into print formats are also available. For electronic options, mathematical and scientific content entered through the LaTeX or text formats can be converted into print formats stored in MathML versions and accessed through readback tools. Mathematics electronic books created in MathDaisy and MathML formats lend them to effective reading as against the limitation experienced by other format books and use of screen reading programs. Accessing graphs, diagrams and pictures has been revolutionized with the advent of technology. What could have been made with traditional threads, glue, etc. can now be printed. Tactile diagrams can be printed and mass-produced. This can be done through various processes such as heat-sensitive paper, which raises only those sections of the page which are marked or drawn upon. What are also available are audio graphing solutions that enable construction of electronic graphs with audio feedback and verbal descriptions of the same for studying and understanding purposes. Practical lab work, taking readings, measurements, etc. has often been considered a big challenge for students with blindness and low vision. Page 224. 80 experts have been doing significant research and development in this area to develop technology solutions that could overcome the sight barrier. Several innovation tools are available today that permit data recording and readback in a lab setup that students with blindness and low vision can operate independently. Self-voicing software has been developed which can be loaded onto specialized lab equipment to which multiple sensors or probes can be connected. These can feed data to the base unit and depending on the sensor, the user can listen to a readout of a wide range of parameters ranging from temperature and pressure, magnetic field, relative humidity, measures of reflection and refraction, intensity of light, levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, ambient sound levels measured in decibels, blood pressure, pulse rate, etc. These readings can also be captured on one's data tabulation chart onto a laptop for subsequent processing and analysis. What is the key to recognize is that while AT is taking significant steps in making science, technology, engineering, mathematics, that is STEM, subjects accessible to blind and low vision persons independently. Given the nature of STEM studies, it is extremely critical to be aware of the limitation of technology in learning. Technology has to be used to aid learning and not supplant the teacher-student experience. Often technology solutions in the STEM field get regarded as replacement of teacher explanations. Just as for sighted students, a teacher will always be needed to explain concepts of addition, subtraction, light, sound, etc., so will a teacher always be needed for a blind and low vision student. AT will help overcome the barrier of not having accessible teaching learning aids, TLAs, and resources. Also, for AT TLAs to work effectively based on the level and aptitude of learners, it is imperative to supplement them with non-AT aids. For example, while tactile diagrams with AT permit mass-scale publication, these may need to be used along with 3D live objects to reinforce learning. While electronic programs can be used for writing mathematics in formats that the blind students and their sighted teachers can access together, it is important to supplement the same with a Taylor frame or similar other tactile boards that permit understanding of columns, rows, tens, hundreds, and other such concepts at the initial stage of learning. AT holds great promise for making STEM objects more accessible and enjoyable for maximum students with blindness and low vision. However, the same needs to be used in conjunction with their non-AT counterparts to ensure most effective results. Page 225. Audio players and recorders. There is a very high degree of audio dependence among blind persons. Given this reality, it is very essential that the blind have available to them audio playback software or hardware, which can provide effective playback options. What is also very important is the provision of suitable navigation points so that listening can be made very focused and as per the demands of the user. Digitally Accessible Information System, DAISY, provides this capability. If the material to be read has been appropriately marked up, the user can actually navigate to a specific section simply by clicking a few buttons. DAISY material is available in various formats such as full text, full audio, full text, full audio, and so on. Today, a wide range of portable as also table-mounted playback hardware are available with the help of which a blind or low vision person can listen to content either as a DAISY media, a MP3 or wave audio file, or even as a Word file. Some of these units are as small as a small cell phone and comfortably fit in the pocket. They generally have their own internal memory, which can further be supplemented with a micro SD card. Others are generally tabletop models and read data from a pen drive, SD card, or CD. Here, pictures of Plextop have been shown. Sources: www.shinanokenshi, shinanokenshi.com. What is important about these players is that many of them offer the capability for bookmarking as also the ability to speed up or down the rate of reading, change voice inflection, and even repeat selected portions. Data is generally transferred to these units via a USB connection to a PC. Page 226. The more advanced units even have Wi-Fi capability, thus allowing the end user the ability to download from the web. Some of these units have a small display mounted on them, allowing for a few low vision friendly settings. It would thus allow a low vision user the ability to read and listen to the chosen material at the same time. Many of these units also have a good recording capability, allowing the user to custom set various audio recording parameters. The portable unit can thus function as a very powerful personal aid. Many modern cell phones also have softwares and applications which can perform similar functions, including the ability to read DAISY books as mentioned in the previous paragraphs. Daily living aids. Blind and low vision persons can today draw upon various technological aids to function more effectively and independently. These devices can find useful applications in the home as also at work. These assistive aids can inter alia help with the following: assistance in the kitchen, over and above tactile signages. One can use talking microwave ovens, measuring cups, kitchen weighing scales, as also programmable talking lids for containers. Within the home, one can also install a talking thermostat, clock, room thermometer and weighing scale. Some countries like the UK also have text-to-speech voices that make television accessible. Talking set-top boxes have also come into the market. Blind persons who use landline phones can also make effective use of talking phones, which have a talking phone book and caller ID facility. Persons who are keen to monitor their fitness conditions can use a talking pedometer, glucose meter, and digital BP machine. With the help of a talking or labeling system, one can organize a medical case with one's medications duly labeled. Color is no longer a barrier for the blind. Speech-enabled color organizers can, with the press of a button, speak out the color of the object it is in the contact with. This can help recognize clothing and appropriately match it for usage. Talking pegs and labels can help by installing a description of that color on the particular object for future reference. Page 227. Details of vendors or manufacturers of some access technologies. National source. Number 1. Barrier Break. Website www.barrierbreak.com. Number 2. Karishma Enterprises. Website www.karishmaenterprises.com. Number 3. Saksham Charitable Trust. Website www.saksham.org. 4. Sparsh Products. Website www.sparshproducts.com. 5. Vision Aid Charitable Services Society Registered. Website www.visionaidindia.org. 6. Worth Trust. Website www.worthtrust.org.in. International sources. Number 1. AI Squared. Website www.aisquared.com. Number 2. American Printing House for the Blind & Company. Website www.aph.org. 3. Dolphin Computer Access Limited. Website www.yourdolphin.com. 4. Freedom Scientific & Company. Website www.freedomscientific.com. 5. Humanware. Website www.humanware.com. 6. Independent Living Aids & Company. Website www.independentliving.com. 7. LS&S LLC. Website www.issproducts.com. 8. Maxi Aids & Company. Website www.maxiaids.com. 9. Optelec International. Website www.optelec.com. OPTELEC. 10. Perkins Products. Website www.perkins.org. 11. Royal National Institute of Blind People RNIB. Website www.rnib.org.uk. 12. Vision Aid & Company. Website www.visionaid.org. This list is an illustrative list as there are many more manufacturers and suppliers in the market. The lists are organized alphabetically. Page 228. This page is blank. Page 229. Chapter 12. Barrier-Free Environment by Ms. Nirmita Narasimhan. This chapter highlights the concept and importance of barrier-free environment and provides useful information on making public buildings, places, transportation systems, ICT, etc., accessible through suitable modifications and use of appropriate material. It discusses the existing policy on accessibility and proposed legislative measures and explains the process of access audit. What is a barrier-free environment? A barrier-free environment is one which is free from obstacles of any kind and allows all persons, irrespective of age, sex, disability, or any other condition, to navigate, function, and access all facilities and services with freedom, safety, independence, and dignity. For an environment to be truly barrier-free, it must not have any obstacles for persons to access facilities and services both in the physical as well as virtual space. A barrier-free environment includes the absence of both environmental as well as attitudinal barriers hindering full and effective participation. However, this chapter focuses primarily on environmental barriers for persons with blindness and low vision, where environment refers to the space surrounding us comprising roads, pathways, parks, buildings, transportation services, products of daily use, etc. The chapter also presents some basic information regarding access to ICT products or services, along with relevant inputs on how to audit whether the environment is really accessible. The relationship between persons and their surrounding environment is a dynamic one. It varies from person to person and also keeps changing during different stages of their lifetime. The elderly, the disabled, small children, and pregnant women may all find it difficult to negotiate roads with uneven or high pavements or read signs which are long or have small lettering. An illiterate person may also similarly not understand a written sign but would have no difficulty in understanding a symbol which is placed beside the sign. Hence, having a barrier-free environment will not only benefit persons with disabilities but all categories of people throughout their lifetime. Page 230. What is accessibility and why is it important? Accessibility is the test to measure whether all requirements and needs of persons with disabilities can adequately be met by a product, facility, or service. If a product or service is accessible, it can be used by all persons, including persons with disabilities. For a product or service to be completely accessible, it must be usable to the same degree and extent, without any extra effort by a person with disability, as it can by a person without disability. However, if it falls short in a couple of requirements, it may still be partially accessible. If it cannot at all be used by a person with disability, it is absolutely inaccessible. Accessibility covers the ability to enjoy the range of purposes which a product or service is intended to serve. Accessibility implies access, while access does not necessarily imply accessibility. It primarily refers to having physical access to something, while accessibility denotes that a person having access to something will be able to recognize, understand, navigate, or use it. A facility or service can be made barrier-free or accessible by ensuring that it is created in an accessible manner from its inception in accordance with the principles of universal design, or by retrofitting it or making reasonable, since it treats accessibility as a matter of right rather than a supplement. In order to ensure that products and services are uniform in their accessibility, standards have been evolved for all aspects of design and development and represent the industry consensus on the critical components which are required to implement accessibility. Adherence to these standards will ensure that the product or service is accessible to all users and will also give the users an idea of what to expect from a facility or product or service which conforms to a particular standard. For instance, adherence to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines will ensure that a website is accessible to all users and a blind person can safely expect from a website conforming to this standard that the images will be accompanied by an alternative description. Another way of ensuring accessibility of products and services is at the stage of procurement. A procurement policy which mandates that all equipment procured or services contracted must conform to standards of accessibility will help to ensure that accessibility is part of all present and future contracts. Procurement policies in several countries in the European Union, the United States and Canada are following this approach. There is a very good business case for making products and services accessible from their very inception, since the range of persons who can access these increases manifold. Integrating accessibility from the initial design may not cost, say, more than 2% of the estimated project budget. On the other hand, retrofitting it would often cost a lot, sometimes even the cost of recreating the entire structure. Page 231. In many cases, it may not even be possible. For instance, in the case of many old buildings, the architectural designs are such that it would be impossible to incorporate accessible design considerations without bringing down the building. Another advantage to having a product accessible from the very inception, as in the case of websites, is that it would develop the internal capacity to create and maintain accessible products and services. Since the topic of barrier-free access is vast, this chapter will limit itself to the surrounding spaces, facilities and services which we access on an everyday basis. The attempt here will be to give examples of the kind of accommodations or design features which must be adopted in order to make the space accessible to blind persons, and not to give a detailed list of all the accessibility features required. Also, given that this resource book is targeted towards persons with low vision and blindness, this chapter will not focus on guidelines of universal design which address the needs of persons with other disabilities. What is universal design? The concept of universal design began in the 1950s when there was a large increase in the number of disabled persons post the two world wars. It urges designers, planners, developers, architects, and manufacturers of products, spaces, buildings and services to take the diversity and vulnerabilities of human beings into consideration while conceptualizing their work. It recognizes that human abilities are dynamic and affect the ways in which people negotiate or interact with their surrounding physical and virtual environments. Accordingly, products, environments and services designed and developed in accordance with principles of universal design are accessible to all persons. Article 2 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, recognizes the importance of universal design and provides for the promotion of universal design as a general obligation of states parties as follows. Universal design means the design of products, environments, programs and services to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation or specialized design. Universal design shall not exclude assistive devices for particular groups of persons with disabilities where this is needed. Universal design seeks to simplify life for everyone by making products, communications, and the physical environment more usable by as many people as possible at little or no extra cost. Page 232. It is based on 7 design principles: equitable use, flexibility in use, simple and intuitive, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort and size and space for approach and use. Reference: www.design.ncsu.edu/about-ud/UD principles HTML format. Reference finished. The incorporation of universal design will ensure unhindered participation of citizens in all aspects of socio-cultural development of a nation. Since universal design of the built environment is inclusive by its very nature, relatively very little cost is incurred in renovation of buildings as they become old. Reasonable accommodation. Closely tied in with the concept of UD is the concept of reasonable accommodation, since in many cases, persons with disabilities may be unable to use a product or service unless a reasonable accommodation is made. Hence, denial of reasonable accommodation may be treated as discrimination on the basis of disability, since it prevents persons with disabilities from enjoying their human rights. In line with UNCRPD, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Bill 2014 defines reasonable accommodation as necessary and appropriate modification and adjustments without imposing a disproportionate or undue burden in a particular case to ensure to persons with disabilities the enjoyment or exercise of rights equally with others. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, which examined the bill, has suggested wide section 3.21 of their report that the words, "without imposing a disproportionate or undue burden in a particular case," be substituted with the words, "to the maximum of its economic resources." Alternatively, the committee has recommended to the ministry to consider the following definition: reasonable accommodation means necessary and appropriate modification and adjustments where needed in a particular case to ensure to persons with benchmark disabilities the enjoyment or exercise on the equal basis with others of all human rights and fundamental freedoms, and also to ensure their full participation in society. Reasonable accommodation is then a most relevant concept recognized by our above stated Parliament's Standing Committee also. It is so integral to accessibility that it finds mention in several articles of the CRPD as well. Page 233. Physical accessibility. This section outlines the guidelines for the accessibility of different aspects of the physical environment. The following themes are common across all guidelines for accessibility for the visually impaired and are an essential part of any accessible environment. Simplicity and lack of clutter. The space needs to be designed and planned in a manner that is simple and logical and can easily be understood. A clear space should be available for navigation, and protrusions and obstacles need to be minimized. Consistency. It is important to follow the same guidelines across the board and do things the same way. If a particular texture is used to indicate a hazard in one place, the same texture must be used for all hazards, as this will be immediately understood. For instance, if the switchboard is to the right of the entrance in one room, the same convention should be followed throughout so that visually challenged users automatically know where to look for it. Contrast. For people with impaired vision, orientation can be eased by the use of contrasting colors and textures in building materials. These can be used to convey warnings, identification of specific elements such as doors, stairs, steps, ramps, pedestrian crossings, etc., as well as identify the path of travel through the means of a guide strip. Tactile and auditory feedback. Since people with impaired vision has difficulty reading signs and printed information, all signage and materials must be made available in tactile or audible formats. Braille and visual information should be combined with audible information. For example, in airports, lifts and buses there could be Braille signage as well as audio messages to help persons with visual disabilities navigate their journey. Lighting. Lighting should be evenly distributed and present at frequently used entrances, access routes and facilities. As bright lighting can be distracting for persons with low vision, walls and work surfaces should not have a reflective glare. This can be achieved by strategically placing light sources, installing blinds on natural light sources, and installing task lighting. Page 234. Path of travel or accessible route. The path of travel, whether it is located at the exterior of a building, along a path through a park, on the walkway to a home, or along the interior halls or corridors of an office, school or home, should be accessible to all users. To be safe for everyone, the path of travel needs to be stable, firm and slip resistant. Width. Every route should be at least 920 mm wide. However, routes that are wider and at least 1400 mm are preferable because they allow persons using mobility aids to pass. Slope. A route that is as level as possible with a running slope at a maximum of 1:20, that is 5%, and a cross slope no greater than 1:50, that is 2%, is easier for people to use safely. Texture. The path of travel should be easy to detect by a blind person using a long white cane. This can be done by providing a guide strip with a contrasting floor texture running parallel to main pathway. Flooring materials such as carpets and tiles should be glare-free, slip-resistant, and not heavily patterned as they can be disorienting. To differentiate pathways from adjacent level and even surfaces, they should be given a different texture and color finish for differentiation. The texture of the floor material at doors, stairs, steps, ramps and pedestrian crossings could be different for blind persons to be able to identify them easily while walking on their own. Warning blocks of different textures should be provided at the beginning, end and the landings of the staircases and ramps. Intersecting pathways should blend at one common level. Any carpets installed should have a low pile and be firm as it makes it easier for people using mobility aids to pass over them. Handrails. These should be provided on sides of stairs and ramps. Should be properly designed in terms of length, size, color and grip. Page 235. Guide strips. Guide strips should be laid out simply and logically and should not be located close to manholes or drains. They should also have a color that is in contrast with the surrounding surface so that it is easier for persons with low vision to spot them. Here in a picture, guide strips in contrasting colors, that is in yellow color, has been shown. Source: www.bfahk.com.hk. Pedestrian crossings. In order to provide safe places for persons with visual impairments to cross roads, pedestrian crossings should be present in all crossroads and at least at every 500 meter, with guide strips to identify their position. There should be an audible indication as to when the pedestrian can cross the road. Pedestrian bridges should be provided on both sides in order to cover ditches. The time interval for crossing should be suitably programmed to give enough time to the blind person to go across using his white cane. Spaces below the stairs must be blocked out using rails or a different textured surface. Page 236. Protruding hazards. Any object that protrudes or sticks out from a wall, column or pillar more than 100 mm could be a hazard, especially for people who are blind or visually impaired who use a long white cane, as it could cause tripping. Some protrusions which are hazards include signs, telephone enclosures, drinking fountains, fire extinguishers, and the underside of stairways or escalators. In the outdoors, these could include traffic and direction signs, trees, shelters for watchmen, water pumps, shop stalls and advertising boards, street furniture, lamp posts, etc. Some of the guidelines specific to overhanging objects and protrusions are: the bottom edges of signs or objects that hang from the ceiling should not be lower than 2030 mm so that it may not hit the head of a blind person. Where an object protrudes more than 100 mm, a barrier at ground level must be provided. Obstructions on a pathway must be indicated through tactile warning markings on the ground around the obstruction, extending at least 60 cm outside of the projected area at the base of the obstruction. Supporting wires, poles of electricity and telephone are to be properly grounded. The trees near externally accessible pathways should be pruned so that their branches do not pose a hazard. Entrances. Entrances to buildings should be placed logically within the routes that serve them and be in contrast to the facade so as to be easily distinguishable. They should also be connected with an accessible pathway to access indoor or outdoor areas. Turnstiles and revolving doors should be avoided. Thresholds should be removed wherever possible. Completely glazed doors should be avoided, and some contrasting color should be provided on glass doors in order to indicate their presence to persons with low vision. Page 237. Here, a picture has been shown in which entrance to a building having handrails have been shown. Source: www.hotelmagazine.co.uk. Elevators. Elevator equipment should use contrasting colors. Numbers should be embossed in braille in order to be identifiable by touch, and for persons with low vision should be displayed in colors that are in contrast with the background. All control buttons should also be in braille. The elevator should signal their arrival to each floor by means of a bell and a light, as well as an audible prompt identifying the floor. Stairs. Stairs should be of uniform height and width with a line of a different color marking the beginning of each step to help people with low vision distinguish one step from another. The edge of the step should be flush or rounded, and sharp edges and protruding rims should be avoided. A textural marking strip should be provided at the top and bottom of stairs and at intermediate landings. Handrails must be installed on both sides of the stairs and should be extended at least 30 cm before the first step and 30 cm beyond the final step in the staircase. Page 238. Signage. There are 4 main types of signage: information signs, example, maps, explanation for use of different equipment. Directional signs. These direct the user to a destination with arrow marks along with text. Identification or location signs. These are installed at a specific individual destinations and indicate the location of a room, service, desk, etc. Warning signs. Installed for the safety of users, either warning or prohibitive signs. For example, fire exit signs. Different types of signage can be indicated using different shapes and colors. In addition, the following guidelines should be kept in mind. All signs should be visible, clear, easy to see and to understand, concise, simple, short and to the point, and consistent, Signs meaning the same thing should always appear the same manner. Obstructing signage such as those placed on the sidewalks or pathways, overhanging signs and pole-mounted signs should be placed outside the accessible path, and warning blocks that are detectable by blind and low vision people should be provided. Signage should be placed openly and prominently at nodal positions. It should be simple in syntax and must be well lit in ambient low light conditions. It should not obstruct any movement path, and if suspended, should have minimum clear headroom of 2 meters from and the finished floor. If the signage is floor-based and freestanding, then there should be a detectable barrier at the floor level for the white cane users. Signage should not use glass as it causes reflection, and be relief cut as opposed to engraving. In addition, braille or auditory signage also should be provided as follows. Braille signage may be given on the handrails at appropriate places. Braille signage is to be fixed at a reasonable height, at eye level, depicting each and every room in the building. Page 239. Grade 1 Braille should be used for single word and contracted Grade 2 Braille for multi-word signs. Where Braille forms part of a sign, an indicator such as a notch should be located at the left-hand edge of the sign to help locate the Braille message. Here, in the picture, Braille signage has been shown, in which it is written, Braille signs should be placed so that the bottom of the sign is 1400 mm off the ground for continuity and ease of use. Source: www.securitysafetyproducts.co.uk. Restrooms. Restrooms in public spaces should be clearly identifiable and in a place which can be accessed easily. Ensure that tiles with color contrast and different texture are used. Standard and easy to use sanitary ware which can be felt and operated should be used. Everything should be at a standard height so that a person with low vision or blindness can estimate where to expect different things within the restroom. There should also be a tactile map at the entrance to help in orientation. All written and visual information should be made available in Braille and audio formats. Transport. Bus stops as well as train stations should have their names and the bus or train numbers displayed in Braille in addition to the local languages. Handrails should be provided for easy boarding. Page 240. The names of the bus stop or train station should be shared in an audible format before it is due to arrive. Information on the names of all bus stops along the route should be indicated inside the bus by displaying text in a suitable position and through audible announcement. The final destination should be displayed outside the bus in large text, especially on the front and side of the bus. This information should be in a contrasting color and be well illuminated at night. On arrival of the bus, its final destination should be announced for the benefit of blind persons. Visual contrast. There must be sufficient visual contrast among the elements of the environment to enable persons with low vision to distinguish between them. Some of the important guidelines are visual contrast between the colors of the walls and the flooring by choosing appropriate color combinations based on the brightness and hue. Colors of the doors should be selected so that they are in contrast to flooring and background walls. Should be marked by a white or colored band so that persons will not bump into them. Door handles and locking system also need to differ in color. Doors should be fully open or fully closed and tightly hinged to a wall. The color of the sanitary ware as well as the grab bars in toilet should be sufficiently different from surrounding wall. Handrails should be in contrast to the supporting wall. The electric switchboard should be larger and in contrasting colors as compared to the wall. Tactile maps. Tactile maps and models should be provided to help visually impaired people comprehend large, complex buildings. A tactile map of the building should be provided at the entrance. As it is difficult to depict the complete building in one tactile map, the main tactile map may be a simple layout, and it should be supplemented with more maps in detail of a particular area at key points such as staircase landings, lift lobby landings, and intersections along the primary circulation route of the building. Page 241. Here, a tactile map with braille and large print has been shown. Source: www.cjwalsh.ie. These tactile orientation maps should match the layout of the building at the location in which they are placed. Pocket maps should be made available at the reception, highlighting circulation routes, location of accessible features, etc. Auditory wave finding. In order to help persons with visual impairments navigate, auditory signs can also provide information in different ways. Providing auditory cues with pre-recorded spoken message at regular intervals can be used at key points in the building. Speaking signs which are infrared audible that give a pre-recorded spoken message activated by the detection of body heat of an approaching person are an excellent way of orienting visually impaired persons. Auditory signals should be provided at crossroads and at zebra crossing. Page 242. Organizing and arranging homes. There are many steps that can be taken within a house also to make it easier for the visually impaired person to navigate. The doors and windows should be arranged to be opened to the wall without protruding. The doors can be painted in different colors. The lights, bulbs, etc. should be placed in such a way that they do not create deep shadows. Usage of large electric switch panels with braille signage should be encouraged. Tactile cues for labeling the clothes may be used. Encourage organizing clothing storage to make it easy to find clothes, example, placing matching outfits together on one hanger and grouping similar clothing. Plastic zip bags may be used for storing various small items like hankies, socks, etc. Specific locations should be identified for keeping different things, and these should be kept in the same place after use. Different types, sizes, and shapes of storage jars may be used to store various items in the kitchen and also labeled in braille. A coding system also may be followed for colors and clothes with help of stitches or buttons, etc. 1 stitch blue, 2 stitches red, etc. Use of the clock concept in arranging items or articles on a table will help. Electronic audio assistive devices such as talking calculator, talking thermometer, talking watch, talking weighing machine, etc. will be very helpful. Keeping the travel space clear of items and center tables, lamps, or candle stands may be arranged in such a way that they are near the wall and not in the walking area. Information and Communications Technology, ICT accessibility. While ICT accessibility is a separate field of study itself from accessibility of the physical environment, given that navigating the physical environment around us requires interaction with and operation of electronic elements such as elevators or bus or train, flight information on display boards, we need to ensure that all these elements are accessible for persons with disabilities as well. Page 243. There are standards of accessibility for various components of ICT such as Website Accessibility Standards WCAG 2.0, and electronic documents such as DAISY, Cube, or EPUB 4, and the use of Unicode 5 for fonts. Examples of some really basic ICT-related accessibility requirements are: alarm systems should be both seen and heard. Print materials and signs should be in large size and accessible formats. Raised lettering, braille, and auditory announcements should be used in elevators so that persons with different degrees of vision can access them. Auditory signs and displays, including on television or computers, should be in contrasting colors and large and easy to read font. Web accessibility. Inaccessible websites result in the inability of persons with disabilities to use them. Hence, given the situation today, where a website is a must for all information, communication, and transactions, denying access to information on websites can prove a tremendous barrier to persons with disabilities. The Web Access Initiative, WAI, a wing of the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, has formulated a set of guidelines known as the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, currently version 2.0, which is the de facto standard for website accessibility around the world. These have been incorporated in some form or the other in the Internet and electronic accessibility policies of different countries. In India, the National Policy on Universal Electronic Accessibility mandates adherence to these guidelines. In general, if a website is completely accessible through the keyboard, including forms and rich media, then it should be fully accessible to persons using all kinds of assistive technologies. WCAG stresses on properly marked up and tagged HTML. The guidelines require that all elements on a web page must be perceivable, understandable, operable, and robust. Websites. Second, please see www.w3c.org/WAI. Third, www.daisy.org. Fourth, please see enwikipedia.org/wiki/EPUB. Fifth, please see http www.unicode.org/standard/whatisunicode.html. Page 244. Mobile accessibility. Perhaps one of the biggest revolutions in the field of ICT is the coming of the mobile phone, which has become a significant tool of empowerment in the hands of all persons, especially persons with disabilities. It provides features and services for persons with all kinds of disabilities. What is perhaps of most relevance to this chapter is the availability of voice-aided navigation and the use of maps to guide persons with vision disabilities to navigate independently. Facilities such as OCR, currency reader, etc., which can be extremely useful. The mobile phone hence has made a tremendous contribution towards the independence and mobility of persons with vision disabilities. The possibility of being able to call for help and guidance at any place and any time without even looking at the other features makes it an empowering tool for navigation. The accessibility of mobile phones has been covered in a very detailed report published by the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, which is provided in the reading list to this chapter. Hence, the role of ICTs in removing obstacles to independent navigation and mobility of the blind is undeniably a big one. Accessibility of electronic documents. Documents both in the print form as well as electronic ones often pose a significant barrier to persons with vision disabilities to access information. With printed matter, the usual procedure is to scan the documents, use optical character recognition software to recognize the content and read it using a screen reader. However, there is hardly any OCR software for languages other than English in India. Hence, regional language content cannot be read, and the only way of making them into electronic copies is by typing them. With electronic documents, where they are in an Unicode-based font, they can be read by text-to-speech software in languages where software has been developed. For Indian languages, there is very little choice of TTS, and at the most, eSpeak, an open-source TTS software, is available for some of the major languages such as Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, Malayalam and Bengali. However, in many cases, electronic documents on the web, such as government orders and notifications, are uploaded as scanned image files and hence not readable by any assistive technology. Therefore, it is important to bear in mind while publishing electronic documents that they must be in Unicode and uploaded in an open standard-based format such as EPUB. Where it is not possible for any reason to have an accessible document, then the concept of reasonable accommodation comes into play, and an alternate Word or text document may be provided, giving the content of the original document. Page 245. If these principles are not followed, a vast amount of content on the Internet remains unavailable to persons with vision disabilities. Do we have any policies in India mandating accessibility? We have mention of accessibility in the National Building Code and in guidelines of the CPWD. Reference: see the National Building Code of India 2005 available at law.resource.org/in/bis/so3/is.sp.7.2005.pdf. Another reference for CPWD: Guidelines and Space Standards for Barrier-Free Built Environment for Disabled and Elderly Persons, Central Public Works Department, Ministry of Urban Affairs and Employment. moud.gov.in/sites/upload-files/moudfiles/92.pdf. Reference completed. However, the accessibility requirements under the NBC need to be adopted by the states individually since it is a state subject. Till now, 18 states have adopted accessibility in their bylaws. However, it is to be remembered that these are voluntary guidelines and that these are applicable only to new buildings. Almost all old buildings in the states, especially public buildings, remain inaccessible since they are not bound by the bylaws. Reference: Action Plan for Implementation of Action Points identified for Ministry of Urban Development for the Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities. moud.gov.in/sites/upload-files/moud/files/pdf/actionplan-barrierfree.pdf. Reference completed. Furthermore, while the plans for the new buildings have to show adherence to accessibility guidelines, there is often a lacuna in the implementation. For electronic accessibility, a national policy titled the National Policy on Universal Electronics Accessibility was notified in October 2013 by the Department of Electronics and Information Technology, MIT, which requires websites and electronic infrastructure to conform to standards of accessibility. Reference: Notification on National Policy on Electronics (NPE) for Electronic System Design Manufacturing Sector of India, issued on November 19, 2012, available at dati.gov.in/sites/upload-files/dit/files/npe notification.pdf. Reference completed. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Bill 2014 deals with accessibility under sections 39 to 45. The major provisions are page 246. The National Commission to formulate regulations for persons with disabilities, laying down the standards of accessibility for the physical environment, transportation, information and communications, including appropriate technologies and systems, and other facilities and services in urban and rural areas. Bus stops, railway stations and airports to conform to accessibility standards relating to parking spaces, toilets, ticket counters and ticketing machines. All modes of transportation to conform to design standards. Facilitating personal mobility for persons with disabilities. Access to information and communication technology to include all contents available in audio, print and electronic media to become available. Provision of audio description, sign language interpretation and closed captioning for the electronic media. Electronic goods and equipment meant for everyday use to be available in universal design. Measures to promote development, production and distribution of universally designed consumer products and accessories. All existing public buildings to be made accessible in accordance with National Commission's regulations within 5 years, with time extension possible on case-to-case basis. Service providers to provide services in accordance with regulations formulated by the National Commission within 2 years with an extension possible as per laid down standards. The Standing Committee on MSJE, which examined the bill, wide section 3.126 of their report, has on the subject of accessibility desired that types of small infrastructure be specified in the bill and time period for their completion should be 5 years. Similarly, types of huge infrastructure be also specified in the bill and extension for their completion be given on case-to-case basis. The committee also desired that the ministry explore the feasibility of bringing the private sector, being service providers, also under the ambit of Clause 45. Access audit. Before concluding, let us take a brief look at how best the accessibility of a building or a space can be measured to ascertain whether it is disabled friendly in the real sense, the process of access audit. An access audit is a test to measure accessibility and usability of a building or environment in order to determine whether it can be used by a diverse variety of users, especially persons with physical and sensory disabilities. Page 247. An access audit serves many purposes: to identify access challenges with respect to that building and suggest appropriate solutions with tentative costing. The audit report may also further classify the changes on the basis of priority for rectification, which is useful especially in cases where there are budgetary constraints, changes which are minor, or those which require major structural modification or may propose alternative accessibility solutions. To identify where the building stands in relation to the building bylaws, accessibility requirements, and to other buildings of a similar nature. To identify modifications required for future action. To minimize cost of litigation for the building owner if he or she is able to demonstrate concern for accessibility of the building for seniors and persons with disabilities by contracting an audit of the building and taking appropriate action for rectification. The scope of an access audit is primarily determined by the purpose for which the building or space is used and any other case-specific consideration. Generally, an access audit will take into consideration all aspects of use of a building, starting from the parking space to approach, entrance, signage within and outside the building, corridors, stairs or ramps or lifts, seating spaces, toilets, public rooms, lighting, placement of furniture, navigability within the building, communication and work equipment, information dissemination materials or practices, announcement systems, exits, fire escapes and attitude of the people working there. It is usually carried out by consultants who have specialized in access audits, very often persons with disabilities themselves. Access audits are useful for persons with disabilities to identify in advance places they would like to visit, such as hotels or theaters, schools or colleges where they would prefer to study, and business houses they would like to do business with. Page 248. Web resources. Availability and accessibility of government information in the public domain. http://cisindia.org/accessibility/blog/availability and accessibility of government information in public domain. Barrier-free design guidelines. 5th 1.1. City of Hamilton. www.hamilton.ca/city-departments/corporate services/procurement/barrier-free-design-guidelines.htm. E-Accessibility Toolkit for Policymakers. www.eaccessibilitytoolkit.org. Government of India National Policy on Universal Electronic Accessibility 2013. dati.gov.in/sites/upload files/dit/files/national person 20 policy person 20 on person 20 universal person 20 electronics 1.pdf. Guidelines for planning a barrier-free environment, a practical manual to improve physical accessibility in Afghanistan. www.undp.org.af/publications/key documents/2005 CDAP guidelines.pdf. accessibility.co.in/access/services/access audit. www.disabled-access.co.uk/rservices/audit-html. www.w3.org/tr/egov improving. Making mobile phones and services accessible for persons with disabilities, ITU and G3ICT. g3ict.org/resource center/publications and reports/p/product category books/subcat1/ID191. United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. www.un.org/disabilities/default.asp?ID = 150. www.webaim.org. With this, Chapter 12 completed.